They hacked my connection. I had to turn on some security features. So in the end, I figured they were either actually running a sexual service, prostitution from a Massage Envy franchise, because it doesn't necessarily have to involve Massage Envy. I sent messages to Massage Envy that may never have gotten there, emails. I got no response. And the dude that was running the place, he would follow me into Sprouts. Again, he works there. It's going to be a coincidence. You're paranoid. Again, that's the whole scam, right? Or part of the scam, at least. They want to kill me. They'll get big bonuses if they killed me. Well, I thought maybe when she's needy, she goes and, almost like sugar daddy. I thought maybe she was trying to do the sugar daddy thing. And I'm like, well, I'll just teach her to have a normal relationship if that's where she's trying to move it. We'll go get coffee and I'll discuss her life. If she needs $100, I can give her $100, not for sex. Right. I don't know if she was 19. I was having trouble believing she was 19. I figured she was probably like a 27-year-old FBI agent or DHS or. Again, there's no doubt that they lie in law enforcement, and it's not prosecuted. Again, I don't have a problem if you make a mistake. And again, those are the ones they prosecute. They make a simple mistake in their report. But again, I'm sure in New York they have a system, and when they say prosecute, they prosecute. And when they say don't prosecute, they don't prosecute. And then so Rose sends money your way, as long as you do what he says. It has nothing to do with politics, believe me. In a traditional sense. Again, it's what they call politics nowadays. So again, the sexualization routine is, okay, what they're going to try to say is, well, that person failed anyway, and it's illegal, or it's wrong. But you have to understand, this is where CIA is supposed to protect our workforce, our government workforce, and they don't. Believe me, the beginning of and the end of the deep state is CIA and their cronies, and that includes foreign intelligence. They travel overseas, they meet with foreign intelligence people, or the foreign intelligence person comes over here, and they make deals face to face in secure environments that they know doesn't have listening devices. And it's not one political party or the other. They're in both, and they're going back and forth to drive. The key is they have to be able to radicalize people. So what they're developing within the United States is what they're supposed to develop overseas, but they don't develop it overseas for some reason, which makes me 100% sure that they're working with people overseas to take over the United States. All it requires is for them to commit a few felonies, like steal funding. I'm sure CIA people steal funding all the time, or kind of launder it through others and then back to themselves. You have to understand, the other person is being shown the other side of the psychology. The deep state operator, the crook, that nothing they'll do will end in any type of arrest, or even a reprimand or anything like that. And if they do get a reprimand, they'll get promoted while they have the reprimand. We've seen that before. See, you have to know what you're reading or what you're seeing. You have to know how to read it. Because they're like, oh, we're shocked. This person was even promoted. I'm not talking about something stupid like anti-A's. They have to understand all those spies you fired. This is the weird part. Because if they got a good cop, bad cop thing going on with Cash, he'll trust certain people. But it could be a setup. I mean, they're applying pressure to Lex resign for him to reach out to certain operators that they placed in there. And again, the whole thing is that they're trying to show that, because you've seen it pop up a couple times for sure, and then maybe hit your mind, that Trump isn't supporting the people that support him. I know it's not Trump. I can tell they're keeping Trump out of the loop on certain things. It's one of those things where you have to protect your enemy, or it'll come back on you. Deep state is the gift that keeps on giving. It's worse than an STD. And just moves on to the next. Now, some people are made men and made women. You know, like they don't have to worry about it. And it's not, you don't have to be as high as Comey or Mueller or Tenet. Tenet was a scumbag. He's the one that used all that war to increase the deep state. Then the Antichrist Brennan walked in, based upon the framework. And of course, Brennan was part of the creation of that framework. I mean, as weird as it is, because you're blocked in the mind from thinking it, Brennan could have been the CIA officer that led the charge to kill Jonathan Luna. But you can't see it, right? That's really who they are. That's how they get those positions. Now, it's a deep state takeover of government, I guarantee it. And they got you to get rid of some people that you needed in there to make sure that didn't happen. That's the whole thing. You can't do mass firings. Like with the deep state, you can't do a mass fire. They had already planned it. To get you to fire the people they wanted you to fire. Well, it's like that woman that works for DHS. That there's some allegations. She should have been married. She could have been married. But they didn't let it happen. I don't think she's been around long enough to figure it out. It took me a while. I was asleep. See? They keep her out there. So Tucker Carlson is doing the mea culpa for supporting Trump. Somebody's operating him. Because it happened to me when I was in. I wrote an email to my chief apologizing for something one time. It's just deep state doing it. So I know what's going on. Right. He's a mess. Carlson's a mess. I don't know what they hold over his head. My chief failed. I mean, hopefully he admitted it to himself at one point. They all failed, you know. I came to the conclusion, you know, with God, that the whole mess was their mess. If they had a normal place to work, I never would have had an issue. Because it was a corrupt place to work, that's why that happened. And again, there were some other people, like this guy named Will, raised emus in Oklahoma. He told me about attacks on his district and how they stuck together and said, no way. And I knew at least two of them, Will and someone else, but I think I knew a third guy, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I was in New York. Other details too. I was Eastern Shore with Elian. Oh, and DC with Elian. And El Diablo, Elian's friend. Where's El Diablo? That's what I want to know. Elian had this kid that would crash his bike, and I think it was a bike or a big wheel. I can't remember. Some sort of bike he just crashed it into stuff. He said the kid was possessed. They let Alien's friends come over, you know, trying to hush it up, you know. So he had this friend that we called the agents called El Diablo. Yeah, he probably runs the army in Cuba. Yes, somebody interview Elian in Cuba and find out where his friends are that were here. I think it was only one friend. It may have been just El Diablo. I can't remember. Find out where El Diablo is. We had a good relationship with the Cuban embassy people. I would say, you know, like U.S. government. It wasn't as big a scandal as they made it out to be. Just bad optics, you know. Oh, Elian was treated great. It's like, you know, almost like Walt Disney. The Walt Disney trip. If they could have, they would have. I gave him whatever he wanted. And he was staying at some big Democratic donor place on the Eastern Shore. That was real nice there. Big estate. Then we moved to D.C. I can't remember where we were in D.C. But I was on that detail with that guy. There were other people. He was a good guy. He actually was one of the best guys that you're going to meet. In the end, I couldn't tell whether they had him operated or not, because he ended up getting divorced, and then he had another girl, or that was someone else. I can't remember. But yeah, one of the guys I knew from details, I was wondering at the end whether he was operating or not, because I was being operated on the details. So again, once they start, and again, I was being drugged and everything back then, and once they start operating. You begin to look for people operating. So I'm not paranoid at all. Actually, that's how I survived, by not being paranoid, but applying, you know, time-tested security methods. But it involves narcos. You have to understand that. It breaks down to the lowest common denominator, and that's narcotics trafficking, sex trafficking. It's just a scam. They're just arresting 1% of all of it, and the rest are putting in money to the thing. And as far as, I don't know if it's true, but apparently Lutnick said there's only one person that got the millionaire visa. I trust the program. That's actually a plus for the program. Well, because they figured they have to vet people. You don't want wealthy criminals running around. Worse than having poor criminals running around, or, you know, average income criminals. So that gives me confidence in the program if only one person went for the gold visa. My thing is, though, if the Democrats come in there, they're going to have a heyday with that. So again, double-edged sword with that thing. If they ever get control of the federal government, they'll be like, yeah, the gold visa. And they'll tell you about all the net losses they have, that the money that they came into after the gold visa program was established. Now that shows you that Trump isn't just taking money for it. Right. They probably are angry at him. But he didn't lie, I don't think. I think what they confused is the number that Lutnick said applied versus the ones that passed vetting. One only passed vetting. And I don't know if that's true either. So initially he told you the number of people that applied, and then he told you that only one received the gold visa, which is fine. If you can't vet somebody in, then you can't vet somebody in. $1 million or no $1 million. All right, stay peaceful. Remember, the big part is the people that are victims of the deep state aren't responsible for what happens. Routinely in history, we would consider them the criminal. But the deep state built it so that the person is ultimately responsible, and you can't be. We're talking about teams of people, including coworkers, that are degrading the person's psychology so that in hopes that they would commit a crime, kill themselves, or kill someone else. I mean, this is what's going on. It's that serious. And again, MI5, MI6, and of course, the Daily Mail is a Democratic rag. And it's a tabloid. So it doesn't matter what they say. It's just like the three-headed alien. But, Cash is using crack and heroin cocktails every day. I mean, it might as well have said that. They hid that fact. I researched it. They're a tabloid. They're not a newspaper. Three-headed aliens. All right, stay peaceful. Praise God. And all that you do, praise God.